kind of.
We'll start at the beginning, Alan, if we may, and ask,
Sure.
how did you first get the gig with Prince? What happened?
Well, what I did is, in the beginning of my career, I shot a lot of fashion.
Right.
And for like Minneapolis St. Paul magazine, and locally shot a lot of fashion for department stores and for pretty much anybody. So I got a call from the YWCA, which they're not around anymore. The YMCA is, and I got a call from Bernadette Anderson, who was Andre Simone's mother.
Right.
And she asked me to shoot the Shades of Blackness fashion extravaganza, which I did do, but I actually shot it in the way that it was described, Shades of Blackness. So I had two black, beautiful models, one female and one male, put them in black suits, shot them on a black background.
Right.
So it was actually Shades of Blackness. Bernadette gets the poster printed, comes home, shows Andre Simone. Prince is living with Andre Simone at the time, and goes, "Give me that guy's number."
Fantastic.
And so he called me at the studio, and I remember hearing Soft and Wet in that falsetto voice. And so I was,
You wondered who was going to come round, yeah.
Yeah, so when he called me, he goes, "This is Prince." And I went,
Are you sure?
"Are you sure?" And he goes, it's really me, and I got a record deal, and he wanted to make sure that he was accredited, and I was just, young and just first starting out on my own, and he says, "Well, what do you charge?" And I go, "How about $150 an hour?" And he goes, "Well, I want to book you for 3 days." And I went, "Wow, all right."
Quick calculation.
So the first shot we ever did was the one on the T-shirt with the stars.
Yeah.
And the red pants and the leggings, and that was his first image, and it was just me and him. We never had a makeup artist. I never had an assistant until way later, when maybe working for Vanity 6 or something.
Yeah.
But for Prince and I, we pretty much worked together.
So it was very intimate.
Yeah, it was very intimate, and even the way I did things, I think, is what he liked. Like most photographers would go, "Yeah, baby, that's good. Yeah, hey, oh yeah, keep doing that. Okay, babe. Yeah, that looks great." And I would go, move your shoulders to a little bit to the left, or stick your chest out a little bit. Where he said, "Well, that gives me more art direction than anybody else has ever did."
Yeah.
So I think that's why he liked my particular style of photography.
That kind of leads into my next question, which was how did the artistic process actually work? Did he come to you with a free-form idea, or did you bounce ideas off each other? Or?
It was always over the phone, believe it or not.
Which is funny for something visual.
Here's the thing, is that Prince was so into music and so into his own world of music. By the time he came to me, he needed it the next day.
Yeah.
It was like the last thing he thought of was an album cover.
Yeah.
Where that'd be the first thing I would think about. It might be something somebody might think about in advance, but not for Prince. It was his music was the most important. And so by the time I got to shoot him, it was already late.
Yeah.
To go to Warner Brothers.
So yeah, they were crying out for the artwork, and
Right.
you hadn't even taken the picture.
I haven't even taken the picture yet. Yeah. And so, he would call me on the phone, and for Dirty Mind, he called me and he said, I want to be shot on a bed.
Right.
And because the name of the album is called Dirty Mind, and I said, "Oh man, the first album I'm gonna get to shoot of a major artist on a Warner Brothers album cover is a black man on a bed."
Where's this gonna go?
Where's this gonna go? I can't see it yet. I can't. I have to kind of see it in my mind.
Yeah.
The image, and so I went to this junkyard and found this bed that made a pattern, where it didn't have the mattress on. It was just bare springs.
The springs, yeah.
Just the springs. And I brought that in the studio and lit it up, and the way I liked it, and I took one Polaroid for my Hasselblad, and he looked at that and he goes, "That's it." what I want.
So you had that connection.
Right.
That he had the music, and you could interpret what he wanted then
Right.
visually.
Well, the album before that, remember that? The Blue Album, I
Yeah.
like to call it, but
Yeah.
it was kind of blue-green, and he thought that headshot was art, and I didn't think it was. It wasn't art to me, but I love the songs on there. Like, I
Yeah.
Want to Be Your Lover, and then Chaka Khan did that cover of
I Feel For You.
I Feel For You, and there was a lot of songs on that album that were just, I think, great.
Oh, incredible! But I know what you mean. It is a very much, it's a headshot of the era, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
it's just
a
a
classic,
headshot.
Yeah.
It didn't say anything about his sensuality, about his sexuality, about where his music was coming
No.
from. It was just, and the Pegasus on the back, I didn't understand.
Yeah.
You know, so I think we got a connection, because the Springs, and I brought design into it.
Yeah.
And he was telling his girlfriend that the second album, that Blue album, was art. I'm just going, I'm going to show you art.
Yeah.
I'm
think
gonna
that's
show
art.
you.
I'm gonna blow your socks off.
I'm going to show you art. And, so then the Inside album, he spray painted my walls, which I didn't really like him to do that to my studio, but.
So you didn't ask it. He did that on
He
his.
just did that
was his
on his
idea.
own.
Where did he get the spray paint from? Came with him.
He came with it.
It was planned.
and he put everybody's name right. It was unbelievable. He's such a good. I don't know if he did graffiti everywhere or what, but as a kid, but he could do it better than I did. And I went to art school.
But that's great information. People won't know that that's actually Prince's spray paint.
Prince's
on
writing,
there. That's
right?
it.
It is.
He did that.
And then, so I did that or inside sleeve, and then for the back, I did shoot him on a bed.
Yes.
But he did the spray painting of the song titles.
Yeah. Again.
And he put everything perfect. I mean, I couldn't have arranged it any better myself.
No, because you can't. If that's on the wall of your studio, there's no retakes, is there?
No,
that's
there's
just
no.
like, it's
Actually,
on
that
there.
was shot at Kim's apartment, which is his girlfriend at the time.
So she
And
got
then
the spray
she
paint.
got evicted for that spray paint. Because you can't get spray paint off very
If
easily.
they still had it, it'd be worth a fortune.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would. But she got evicted, and Prince paid for all that, and that's just water under the bridge. But it's just hard to get
It's
that kind of
impossible.
spray
Yeah,
paint
exactly.
off. Especially when you're living in an apartment building
Yeah.
that you're just renting.
That's incredible.
So, and then Controversy was the same way. I still didn't have the mental image in my mind of when he called me up and he said, I want to be shot on a newspaper, and forgive me for saying this, but the only thing I could think of was like my aunt's parakeet, was she had the newspaper.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was just going, I don't see that as an image yet. And then I talked to my brother, Rick, who was an art director, very famous art director for a while. And he said, you should do newspapers like the Controversy Daily. Yeah. And why don't you give them some headlines? Tell them to give you some, maybe songs or something.
Yeah.
And I called him back, and it's a good thing I did, because he would change his number on a weekly basis, to, get away from the fans. But I did get a hold of him, and I said, I just need the headlines right away. And I understand we got to get this done in one day. I mean,
that's
really
the
hard part.
Yeah.
So we made what's called stats. I don't know if you have those in the UK, and it's an older form because now computers do all of that.
Yeah.
But I had a keyliner who actually never got credit for it. She should have. And but I had an old keyliner I worked with at Donaldson's doing fashion. She made the Controversy Daily, and then Prince gave me the headlines. The copy doesn't say anything; it's just dummy copy.
Yeah.
It's just supposed to look like the headlines in there. And at first, he wanted to have all those headlines in there, the front and the back cover. But his head was only going to be this. So I said, Prince, you're going to have to pick out 4 headlines that you really like.
Yeah.
That's going to be the cover. And the minute I took that Polaroid, again, that same magic happened. Where it was, yep, that's it.
So when you do, these days, if we looked at an image like that, we would know that would all be photoshopped in, all the background.
Oh, yeah.
Photoshopped in. How was it done then? Did
Yeah.
you actually make a backdrop of those headlines?
Yes,
and then
I was
he
actually
physically stood in
shot
front
that
of
at
it?
his purple house in Chanhassen.
Right.
Because he wasn't leaving his house then for some unknown reason. It didn't matter to me. But I had to load up my van and bring all my studio equipment. I brought like 18 lights, 2 booms, and 2 camera bodies, and a Hasselblad, and all this gear. And he really liked the ring light. So I only needed 1 light.
And
That's
then
funny.
To get that iconic image that's so familiar to everybody,
Right.
and it's come from you making the backdrop of the headlines.
Well, and the trickiest part about that is that I wanted him in sharp focus.
Yes.
And the headline's just slightly out of focus. I wanted to be
But
able to
still
read
readable.
it,
Yeah.
readable. And we made that successful. And I think he saw that part of me and saw that vision.
It's incredible.
So it was really, and then his side projects, The Time came next, and
That was
Vanity.
I was going to ask you about The Time and Vanity. Was Prince as involved in the process of what you were actually going to take with those images?
Oh, absolutely.
Just the same
Just
as his
the same
own.
thing. He called me up and said,
He told
Al,
you what you're going to do.
I want, for the first Time album cover, it's just like no laudering allowed.
Yeah.
And what I did is I went and took Polaroids of different storefronts or different apartment complexes, and he picked that one.
Right.
And then they actually made, on tour, they actually made a backdrop that mimicked that
Right. Okay.
that actual photograph. And so I just showed him that, and he said, "Yep, that's where I want to shoot." He wasn't even there. I didn't know the Time at all. They knew because I shot Prince.
Yeah.
So
they knew who you were.
They knew
yeah.
who I was, but I didn't know who they were.
No.
And it was kind of funny at first.
Yeah.
But then we got along famously because we were on the road after that.
Yes.
And those guys were the Homeowned Cowboys. I don't know if you want to edit that out or not, but they were red-blooded American boys.
Yeah, they had fun on tour.
They had fun on tour.
They knew how to tour.
They do the grandma and everybody else in between. Let's put it that way. I'm not gonna edit that out. Prince wasn't like that. Prince was very,
Yeah.
he had his girl, and I was right next to him, so I could hear everything, that for good and for bad. Because, see, for me, as a photographer in those times, there wasn't digital, there wasn't the internet, there wasn't the accessibility that we take for granted today. Kind of like your iPhone that you're using. When I'd go into a town, I'd have to look through the yellow pages to see what processed my film.
Yeah.
So we'd do his concert, I'd get home, or back to the hotel, I should say, which I'd call home, and then sleep for a couple hours, and then get up in the morning, have a taxi, take me to the place.
See what you've actually shot.
See what I shot.
Because nowadays we know straight away if we've got the shot or
Yeah,
not.
you got the digital.
But
Yeah,
then
you can look.
You've got to take the film and...
Gotta take the film, get it processed, so I usually have breakfast maybe as close as I can across the street or maybe a couple blocks away. Because we're usually in major cities, we play. Yeah, but Prince got to see the stuff immediately the next day. Right after I shot it, he would see it. And that's the way it worked. So it wasn't a big party for me to be on tour.
No.
it was always work.
Yeah.
I had to get him the contact sheets by noon. I'd be at soundcheck at 3, kind of doing warm-up lighting and all that, and then he'd be doing his thing. And then we'd have like a short dinner break, and then Vanity 6 would go on, The Time would go on, and then he'd go on. And that day would start for me all over again, because I was working.
Yeah.
I was actually a working photographer, which I think today would be just, if you were all digital, you'd have everything done, and you'd have your MacBook Pro, you could have everything to print like in seconds.
Yeah, literally, as he comes off stage.
Yeah, you could do that. And
I want to go talking about tour.
Oh, sure.
I want to ask you, one of the images in the book is from the infamous Rolling Stones opening.
Yes.
What was that like?
That was tragic for Prince. But you gotta remember Prince's image that he was trying to create, and even back then, it worked at midnight when he would play, or 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
But you don't put a guy out at noon.
No. So if you're at the Capri Theatre or if you're at First
Right.
Avenue and you're coming out in your leg warmers, and it's going to work.
Yeah.
But if you're in a stadium in Los Angeles...
If you're near a stadium and you got all bikers up front, and these people have been waiting for the Rolling Stones since 6 in the morning.
Right.
And at noon, a black man comes out and is wearing a trench coat, leg warmers, a G-string, high heel boots, and he comes out and he opens up with "Jack You Off."
Yeah.
That was very brave.
Yeah.
That was a very brave soul, and people were throwing bottles at him and liquor bottles, and
So that, I would imagine, was very awkward for everybody around
yes,
as well.
yes, I felt bad for him, and it was amazing because most of the shots that I took, you don't see any debris at all.
No.
Only in one, and of course they picked that one to be in the book. They did show a little. There's like a little coke thing that's on the stage floor, but that was a huge stage. I mean, you know, it's the Rolling Stones, and so what happened was that Friday was the first show. Saturday there was a football game, so I had to take that whole big stage down. I don't know what, I can't remember the name of the tour, and you can put that, edit that in. And but it was a huge stage. It went from, it was the Coliseum, the whole length, and a really big catwalk for Mick Jagger to walk out into the audience and stuff. And so they had to take all that down.
That's striking out.
Right. So Saturday we had off. So we had no idea. Not the band, not management, not me. Certainly not me. If Prince was going to come back, because he was very upset.
Yeah.
As any artist would be. I mean, you have this great honor of opening for one of the biggest bands in the world, the Rolling Stones. It's like opening for the Beatles, almost.
Totally.
And it was just timing, I think, but it took a lot to call him back. I mean, I know Mick Jagger tried to call him back.
Yeah.
And that didn't work, and I guess it was Des Dickerson who actually got him to come back. And he kind of did a greatest hits set. So I Want to Be Your Lover, you know, I Feel For You, you know, all those really big hits, but it's still that noon area where you get a trench coat, the way he's dressed.
So he compromised a little in changing the setup, but he wasn't going to compromise any further
on
than
his
that.
dress.
No.
Not on his dress.
No.
So got booed off the same reason, and I don't know how long he played because I was working, and I get in my working mindset.
But like, and it was a brave thing, having
brave.
experienced it once, to then sort of go back to get knocked down again.
Yes, he
get
did.
Back in the ring.
It's so that should teach everybody that no matter how great you are, somebody's going to bring you down.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to bring you down, and somebody's going to humble you. And then what did you do after that? Only make the greatest record in the world.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if 1999 didn't hit him off, certainly Purple Rain did.
Yeah.
And I know everybody remembers Purple Rain, but I think 1999 was a big launching point, and for that, I did the inside folders. He did the album cover, I think.
Yes.
Or he signed somebody to do it, and what he told me to do is go see Blade Runner.
Oh, okay.
And I want it shot like that.
Right.
And I went, well, that'd be really cool. Except back then, no internet. I went to the VHS store and said, do you have Blade Runner? And they go, no, it's too soon. It just left the theaters. I couldn't see it at the theater. I couldn't see it on YouTube. There was no YouTube. I just had to ask friends who'd seen it.
So you had to have it described.
Described.
People now, youngsters, not like us oldies, won't realise that something was at the cinema for a length of time, and then it was gone for a long period before it came out on video, on VHS, when you'd go and rent it.
Right.
Nowadays, things leave the cinema and they're out on DVD
or you
straight
can get.
away.
I can get it through my cable company.
Yeah, exactly.
If I want to pay for it.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money, but
it leaves the cinema, and then you can go on Amazon Video or whatever. But then.
Back then,
left the theatres, and that was it. Then you had to a long way.
Exactly. So I just asked friends, and they said, "Smoke and neon." And so that's what I did. I went to a friend that did neon, and he taught me I had to have transformers for every set.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure if my studio could take the power, but it did. You know.
There's a whole block in Minneapolis where the power goes out because you've plugged in all
Yeah,
your neon.
I plugged in like dozens of neon. Plus, I had power packs for my lighting, and a lot of electricity that night was spent. Believe me, I think it was probably.
Did you tell him you hadn't seen the film, or did you just,
No, I didn't tell him that. No.
Of course, I've seen it, Prince.
No,
Yeah.
we didn't even talk about it. I showed him a Polaroid, and he goes, "Perfect.
Yeah, you've got it.
You got it."
That's
So
great.
That's all I needed was his approval. And
Did he get involved in the editing process afterwards? When you showed him
Oh,
like a
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
you showed him a contact sheet. Would he be on it every little bit?
Every little bit. He'd be under that microscope.
Yeah.
He was very critical of my work, and sometimes a little bit too critical. But hey, we're all like that.
Yeah. And he knew what he wanted it to look like.
And he knew what he wanted, and he knew the image that he was trying to project. And that's what's great, I think, about the book and about these photos is that this is what the real fans have been waiting for.
Absolutely.
The growth of Prince from being a really very young 19-year-old trying to figure out great music.
Yeah.
But just trying to figure out image and what am I.
Yeah.
So understand when he came to me, he just came off a headshot photo.
Yeah.
No trench coat.
Yeah.
To me, trench coat, rude boy.
Oh, it's a complete image change.
Yeah.
I mean, that headshot on the For You is so soft and sort of romantic, very sort of female image.
Right.
And then the change is incredible. Like you say, it's a real sort of like almost a punk side to it.
And then after that controversy, he has the bolo tie.
Yes, and it's all sort of very
and he's
sharp.
more dressed up,
Yeah.
and he's getting bigger, but still the same kind of look.
Yeah.
And then the purple came along
Yeah.
for 1999, and he stuck with that. I think for a long time. Forever.
The purple.
Purple is him. And so understand how that image was built.
I quite agree with you that that period is just so interesting because you're watching it evolve.
Right.
You're watching him evolve and find what he wants to do. And yes, he continued to change his image and change things to be so young and to have such definite ideas and to actually know. It was almost like he knew 4 moves ahead where he was going.
And I have to tell you, the album that's coming out on the 21st, this will probably be published after, I'm aware, but those songs are just him raw, a piano and a microphone.
Yeah.
And they sound like somebody's finished music.
Yes, absolutely.
That'd be somebody's like, that's my perfect album.
Yeah.
So understand that that's how good he was.
How do you think he would feel about that coming out? But that he recorded that privately. Do you think he'd be? We can only surmise.
Yeah, we can only surmise, but I'm proud of my man.
Yeah.
I'm always proud of Prince, and I would tell him that I'm on the phone all the time. Like, he'd get lonely sometimes on tour, like, even when I wasn't working with him, on the Purple Rain tour, he'd call me, I go, man, we're all proud of you, man.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about what anybody says to you,
I think when you reach that level of stardom, it must be very lonely at times.
Oh, yeah. I think it is, like, very...
Do you think that's why he stayed in Minneapolis?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he could move around here.
Yeah.
If he were to go anywhere else,
And he could always have that little touch base to people that he knew were genuine.
Exactly. And talking about that, I wish I'd known that he had that much trouble with his hip.
Yeah.
And because when I was with him, he never did drugs.
No.
Ever. And he drank one time on the first tour, the Dirty Mind tour in Macon, Georgia. But he drank everything the wrong way. He would drink what everybody else had. So, like, if you were having a pina colada, he'd have a taste of that. If somebody else was having a vodka straight, he'd have a taste of that.
That's not a good mix.
That's not a good way to go. And I told him, I said, you got to pick your ride and ride it, and you can't just drink everybody. But I ended up holding his hair at the hotel, and
That's probably why he didn't drink after that.
Yeah,
then.
no, he didn't drink after that.
That's your responsibility then.
And plus, I think the control thing. He lost a little bit of control,
Yes.
I think.
Yeah.
And that was never going to happen again, because he's in control. He's the man. He's the guy that's got to live and breathe what he decides.
Yeah.
And no, I appreciate him for that. And so that's the death of Prince was probably the 2 worst weeks outside of my own family's death that I've gone through. That bereavement period was very strong, and because he was a friend of mine.
Absolutely.
And I knew he took care of himself, and you could tell. I mean, I want to say 5 years. I don't think he changed his look at all. He
No.
looked exactly the same age, had the exact same frame, so it's not like he indulged in drink and food and all that. And I think he kept himself in shape.
Yeah, it's not sort of like the Elvis situation.
Yeah, it's not like the Elvis situation at all. And you know, and it was a 2-day thing. So like I heard that he had had to land a plane in Indiana or somewhere, and then 2 days later he came back and he had already passed away. I mean, I wish I could have called him and said, "Hey, you need some help." I mean, for him to die alone is so sad. Heartbreaking in an elevator, and not that I wanted to be there for his death. I don't. What I'm trying to say is, I wanted to help him.
Yeah, the fact that there wasn't anybody there.
Right.
Yeah.
You could hang on me. You were going through something, just bite me or something.
Yeah.
And get it out of your system.
Yeah.
And maybe we could have helped. I'm not saying I'm the answer to be all, but I wish I could have been there.
Somebody could. Yeah.
Yeah, or somebody, or anybody.
Absolutely.
Yes, exactly.
I'm going to bring it back round to the book.
Okay.
Favorite image in the book? Do you have one?
Well, I have quite a few actually, but 2 stand out. The one that's going to be on the album cover, Prince and the Microphone, the mirror photo.
Yeah.
I think he really liked that because he used it in Purple Rain.
Yes.
And he used it, I think, on a couple movies and a couple, I don't know, maybe an album interior shot. I don't know if somebody else shot. But so I think he liked that image, but I'm the one who gave it to him first.
Yeah.
So I like that. And then the pinball machine where he's going like this.
Right. Okay.
I love that shot because it's so not Prince.
Yeah.
If you knew him, you go, that's not him.
Yeah.
And
he's just
so
goofing about.
Those 2 photos are probably my prized possessions.
That's fantastic. And of the tours that you did, do you have a favourite tour?
Well, of course, 1999, because the Dirty Mind tour, I did go to the Rick James show when he was on that tour with Tina Marie, and then he was in the middle, and then Rick James.
Yeah.
And that was a little scary. Rick James is a little scary. Yeah, the Rick James tour. And you could tell Prince was kind of unhappy being underneath Rick James.
Yeah.
So he went out on his own and actually brought Tina Marie with. I was in Nashville at the time, and he asked me, "Do you want to be my tour photographer?" And I said, "Listen, I'm a studio cat. I got to have lights where I know where they are, and I got to know where you are. And you want me to go into a dark theater and have you dancing all over the place, and I'm supposed to try to shoot."
Different ball game.
And I said, "See, that's a whole different thing. That's a different thing." And so I was in Nashville at the time, and I said, "Well, I'm not doing anything else. I'll try it." And really, my first 10 rolls of film I took to the processor. I think I showed Prince 1 roll that was kind of okay, where at least some of the exposure was kind of okay, but he was still a little shaky. But by the next tour, or by the next town, I think it was Macon, Georgia, we were in, this other guy in the pit actually showed me what his settings would do.
Yeah.
And, it's very unusual because photographers are usually pretty secretive about their settings and about how they do things. So I got to thank this guy in Macon, Georgia, whatever his name is. He knows who he is, and he put me on the right track. Was it the one I stuck with? No, but it got me.
But it put you on the right path.
Put me on the right path. Because there's tricks to every trade. There's tricks to your trade, there's tricks to my trade, and there's tricks to sub trades, like, you know, being a studio guy,
Yeah.
and then turning into a shooting live guy. And
So
now I
we've
can
all
do
got
both.
to thank this guy
Yeah.
for putting you on the right path,
Put
so
me
that
on
we've
the
got
right
these
path.
fantastic images in the book.
Exactly. And yeah, I improved over the years, and it's amazing kind of what you can learn. And I would share my settings with people too, you know, so it wasn't like I kept myself
No,
all secretive and all that. If somebody wanted to know what I
you
was
paid it
using,
forward.
pay it forward, absolutely. And that guy told me that. And we were talking about last night about giving autographs at First Avenue when MPG was playing, that I don't charge for that. I never will. I'm honored that people know who I am. I'm honored to give them my autograph. I'm honored to have you guys here from the UK.
No, it's our honour to be here to speak to you, and I think you're going to find that a lot more people, when the
I
book
hope so.
comes out,
Yeah.
are going to be asking you for to let them know who you are. So, Alan, the book's on the Minnesota Historical Society Press.
Right.
It's available for pre-order now
Pre-order now.
and worldwide on
Amazon.
And when's the release date?
November 1st
November 1st.
is the release date, and if you pre-ordered, I'm sure you'll probably get it that day. Oh,
Fantastic.
if you don't, you can yell at me.
We'll give them your email.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Pleasure
We're
talking to you.
absolutely thrilled with the book, and any chance of another one afterwards? If this
Yes,
one
I
goes
think
well?
we'll try to do another one.
There's more images.
There's more images, and like we talked about before, was a dance theater concert that he did that I have, that I really wanted in this book that didn't make it in this book, and the editor said, well, there might be another book.
So there's going to be more unseen images to come.
Unseen images to come.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.